And with that, again, right there's the number 232-4434, extension 207. If you want to call in, we'll go back to line 1. Good evening. Good evening, Todd.
Hi. Well, I had something to say about George Bush.
Yep.
I have a question for your panel. What would you have had him do, in accordance with the bailout? Do you really think that he shouldn't have done what he did?
Yeah, go ahead.
Part 2 to that question, really. I mean, you have to think about our country and nationwide. 1330 KVOL.
I kind of figured that was going to happen.
I was about to tell you to hang it up because I knew what she was doing.
Yeah, and I recognize the phone number because that happened to be the host of the program that's been antagonizing us on said radio station.
When she said part 2, I was about to tell you to hang it up.
Yeah, and I should have known when I saw the caller ID. I should have known.
You're pathetic.
Good evening, Lake Charles.
Hello?
Hello?
Y'all calling about the bailout?
Hang it up.
Yep.
Come on, guys. Here in Lafayette, there's an industry that's suffering right now. It's the oil industry. If they bail out anything, it's going to be the oil industry. I mean, we got to think about that with the falling oil prices right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a problem with that, though, is how a lot of politicians are looking towards the future past oil. So I don't think oil will really be given an opportunity to be bailed out like that, because I think a lot of people would like to see our dependence on oil be lessened. So it'd kind of be conflicting to be bailing out something that most people think won't be in existence within 50 years.
Well, when the oil industry went belly up in the 80s, they did not bail them out, and I personally think that they should bail out Pittman Broadcast.
They did it again.
I heard her in the background, Ian.
You guys are
Give the numbers.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys really are pathetic.
337-853. Try stopping me now.
Next number, Ian.
No. We'll go ahead and give that first one benefit of the doubt. I'll go ahead and give that first one benefit of the doubt. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you see it right there, 124 East Main. And apparently we're still at war with a certain radio station. A certain radio station that is dead last in the Arbitron ratings as of the last book. Now we move on to, after the bailout, we mentioned George W. Bush.
Okay.
We mentioned George W. Bush and the bailout, which leads to the next topic. Bush's numbers aren't that great, considering that he's leaving office, and apparently 75% of Americans are happy to see him go. Another 85%, I believe the stat was 85%, said that he did more to divide the country than unite.
That is correct. I believe that he did more to divide the country than unite too. I mean, sending the country to war, I mean, I guess in a way it was necessary. I mean, when it first happened, I said that, we should never be doing this. But, I mean, in a way, I kind of see what they were trying to do. But now it's to the point where it's like, okay, we really need to bring our troops back home. I mean, it's getting to the ridiculous level now.
Right. Well, the problem is now that the troops are there, they really can't just cut dry and come home. They
need to set up.
They owe it to the Iraqi people to finish it up like it's supposed to be and try to not have thousands and thousands of people die if we just leave right now.
So you're saying we need to try to set up a democracy over there?
Well, I mean, we're trying to set up a democracy. It may be hopeless, but we need to do something. We can't leave it in the situation it's in right now.
You're right. We do need to do something. But do we need to prolong the needing to do something?
I think there's going to be an American troop force in Iraq for a long time. I think most people just need to come to the realization of that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's
going to happen.
I mean, but you will still have these groups that are anti-war or anti-going against here, going against there, and they will never understand. You could tell them from sun up to sundown, this, and this is the reason.
Right. Yeah.
They will not listen.
Then, with that said, what would you suggest? Yeah. With everything that's going on right now, you brought up the war in Iraq. We know that on January 1st there will be some benchmarks that will have been met. The U.S. will have to gain warrants to conduct all searches and seizures. They can't do anything without a warrant anymore. That's one of the many. What else would you build upon? The things that aren't in effect already in Iraq. What would you do if you were in George W. Bush's shoes right now? What would you try to do to better the situation in Iraq? Well, if you can say it can happen.
A lot of people talked about they'd like some sort of deadline.
Yeah.
I don't think you can put a deadline on a war.
You can't. No, you can't. You really can't.
I don't agree with that. As far as improvements, I really don't know. I mean, it's sort of a tough situation, so I don't really know what he could do. I think we'll just have to wait for the next president. We'll see what President Obama will do and what he can do, whatever.
Josh, I understand that you think there's not gonna be an end, but at the same time, should we just, be like mom and dad? And, let them keep doing it. Let them keep doing it. Or should we try to, wean them out of it? And by that I mean, say if you have a little baby and he's drinking milk and he's getting to the age where you can't drink out the bottle.
Yeah,
you gotta.
I mean, progressively we will have less and less troops in Iraq. I believe we have about 100,000 in Iraq right now.
Something to that effect.
I mean, I don't expect us to have 100,000 troops in Iraq for the next 10 years. I'd expect that number to be definitely decreasing, but
greatly. I hope.
I hope it does too. I mean, like you said, you can't pull all the troops out at one time. That's not possible. But a steady decrease would be helpful.
One thing though, immediately, like when you were saying George Bush's failures, a lot of people have pinned things like the war and Hurricane Katrina and the financial crisis. But I mean, I think a lot of people are just using as more of a scapegoat. There's a lot of other people in the situation. I mean, how much control does he actually have nowadays as a president? I mean, he's got a lot of other people there giving him their opinions.
That's true. But along that line, somewhere everybody was like, well, if we're going to blame him for A and we're going to blame him for B, we might as well blame him for everything through Z.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I mean, if he's going to take this and this.
So, I think he's unfairly taking the blame for a lot of things. But
he is,
but you get on that horse and you
But that comes with being president, too. Yeah. I mean, you're going to take the blame for a lot of things that aren't necessarily your fault.
Now, we talked about Iraq. The one war, if you want to call it a war, that often gets forgotten about is the turmoil in Afghanistan right now. Correct. There are thousands more troops serving time there, doing service to their country there, and they're often forgotten when it comes right down to it. We talk about Iraq all the time. You talk about U.S. troops in other parts of the world, but the troops in Afghanistan are often forgotten.
Right.
What should Well, George Bush can't do much of anything. He has a good 23 or so days left in office.
Well, he's on the way out.
He's on the way out. So what would you ask President Barack Obama to do with regards to the situation in Afghanistan?
I know during one of the debates he discussed that he would be proactive about potentially going into Pakistan in pursuit of Osama bin Laden. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
Yeah.
But
right. Now, we mentioned Osama bin Laden. We'll get to the celebrity Deadpools in a little bit later again. If you have anything relevant or true to say, 232-4434, extension 207.